Buck in the News. Welcome to the 2019 season. Live on YouTube. It's going to be recorded and put out on the podcast feed. I love it, Ren. I love it. We're getting back into that regular schedule.
Oh, I know. Isn't this nice?
Uh-huh.
It's like I feel like I've the whole off season. I felt like we were just sort of like ships passing in the night.
Yeah. It's been that. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And now, we just did a pod. Feels like just a couple days ago.
Uh-huh.
And now here, a couple days later, we're back at it, starting to feel like the regular season again.
Yeah, and it's. I think it's when we find ourselves at the best. Well, Ren, for tonight, we find ourselves in a spot where training camp is over. The Buccaneers have had their week of practice, and they have a game this weekend, which puts us kind of into our regular schedule of doing a Buck in the News show. Today was the final day of practice. All the news stories and stuff have now cycled. It's just the players get a day off tomorrow, and then they play on Friday. And that's all there really is left to do. So it is our chance to kind of talk about and recap everything that has happened over the course of the week. We're also going to talk about any team transactions that might have happened over the last week. And then we'll finish off the show as we look towards this game by talking about the injuries, who might play, who might not play, what we're looking to see coming up in this game here for the preseason game where we're going against the Cleveland Browns. It should be an interesting matchup.
It should be a good, test, I guess. I'm not sure how many of their stars are playing or how long they're going to play, but, they're the hot, sexy pick to win the AFC Central, and, they're the kind of like we were the Super Bowl low-key darlings 2 years ago. Like, the Bucs are going to the Super Bowl. The Browns have sort of taken that mantle this year, so they got a lot of talent. They got some nice weapons on offense. Their defensive line is stacked. So it's going to be, like you said, it's going to be a fun game to watch. It's going to be a big test for the O-line.
Yeah. So we are super excited about all of that. So, Ren, we'll get into all of this, but the way we start this show, this is our Buck in the News. The way we always start this is by talking about any team transactions that happen, and this is certainly a time where we're probably going to see several over the next bunch of weeks. This is going to continue to churn a little bit. Most of this will be the bottom of the roster type stuff. Last week, we had a new safety was signed, Darian Stewart, and we waived Micah Abernathy as a part of that. Actually, I think that particular corresponding move was we waived outside linebacker, the second half of the Dare group. Dare Odingwingwa, or however. Darian Stewart, as I understand
Double dare.
Yeah, there you go. Darian Stewart dressed for the Dolphins game, but didn't play at all. So he's kind of been in his first week here with the Buccaneers.
That is incorrect.
That is incorrect? Okay. Help me out with that.
He played a lot.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. He was expected not to play. I think that was reported.
Okay.
And he ended up playing a lot, and he missed a bunch of run gap fits, and all those long runs in the second half?
Yeah.
That was him.
Oh, okay.
Remember when Fitzpatrick ran over a guy?
That was him?
That was him.
Oh, my. Okay. Well, that's good to know. So I guess that was really last week's transaction, so let's forget about that. Coming into this week then, I guess, the Buccaneers claimed wide receiver Manuel Hall off waivers from the Chicago Bears and waived Micah Abernathy out of the safety room. What do we know about this guy? Anything?
The Bucs liked him in college. I think he's from Missouri. He does one thing well, which is run fast straight.
Okay.
He's kind of like a Peterman, honestly.
Okay.
Where he's big, he's fast, but he has questionable hands, and he gets injured more than you are comfortable with as a fan.
So why at this point are the Buccaneers signing yet another wide receiver with as deep as that room is?
Can't teach speed.
I guess. All right.
Yeah.
Is
Bruce Arians' offense needs some speed. They need some guys that stretch the field. That's why you have Perriman. That's why you have Scotty Miller. That's why we brought in this guy. What's his name? Allen? No. Hall.
Emmanuel Hall.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to make the team.
Right.
I think he'll make the practice squad for sure if no one else scoops him up.
Okay. So this might be more of a practice squad signing, development kind of a thing than it is really anything else. Because this isn't just a guy they signed off the street. They claimed him off the waivers. So this was a guy they wanted, right?
Yeah, this was a guy who was on their radar during the draft.
Right. Do you think this says anything about we've often talked about, even on this show and lots of other shows, Ren, have talked about how, those first three wide receiver positions are going to be pretty well set. Evans, Godwin, Perryman, right?
Right.
That fourth one we kind of posit might be set, whether it's, Justin Watson or something like that. But, Bruce Arians said, don't count that one out yet,
Well, he's lying.
You think it's Watson?
It's Watson.
You still say it's Watson? Well, I want to get to that in just a minute, because that was one of the pieces of news that kind of came out this week. But what does this signing of another wide receiver say that Bruce maybe isn't super happy with the rest of the wide receiver room?
Well, no one's, separated themselves, and you can throw Watson in there because, if you've just watched the preseason games, you can see where, okay, he needs to play better. But I've watched all the practices, and he's played a lot better in the practices. So, he had sort of, I guess you could say, quote unquote, 2 touchdown drops, whereas the one in Pittsburgh, it was a tough catch. You would have liked him to make it. And then last week against the Dolphins, where the guy was draped on his arm and he had a one-handed catch, and you would have liked to see him catch it. But again, it was a tough catch. And I think they had like one real drop.
Right.
But no one else has stepped up. Like, the kid out of Buffalo that I like, I haven't seen him catch a pass yet. He might have, but Bobo had 2 drops in the Miami game that I remember. So there's no one. Scotty Miller hasn't played yet. Schnell disappeared in the Miami game after having coming out lighting the world on fire in Pittsburgh. So who's there? Like who's showing themselves? Who's the Tanner Hudson of the wide receiver room?
So I mean, it really could mean that this is one of those, Bruce isn't satisfied with the depth in the wide receiver room and is bringing somebody in to challenge him. But, you said you don't predict this guy making the team, but he probably will be a practice squad guy that they try to keep.
And he might move up later. He just doesn't have enough time to really make a dent.
Right.
In practice and in the games to sort of boot, a Miller or a Watson or a Johnson or even a Bobo Wilson, like, out of that final spot.
And, of course, signing him to the practice squad assumes that he will not get claimed off waivers, because he has to clear waivers before we can sign him to practice squads. So we'll see what happens. We'll definitely keep an eye on this as we go forward, because we are coming down to that initial 53-man cut down very soon, Ren. Like, I think it's within, about the next 10 days or so? Something like that.
It should be like the day after or 2 days after the last preseason game.
Yeah. So we're getting pretty close there. Also, just a couple of days ago, we signed a new defensive lineman, Elijah Qualls, and waived an injured guy, an injured Shane Bowman. Do we know anything about this guy, this Elijah Qualls? Is he going to be anything for us that we need to watch?
No. He's a camp body,
Fair
I guess
enough.
the big claim to fame is that he's from Washington. He played with Villa. But so did the last guy, Bowman. Like, they both played with Villa at one point. And this guy actually has some experience. He's been, he's been in a couple of NFL, training camps, and has been on a few practice squad rosters. But no, he's just a body. Because if you do the math, all right, say the interior lineman, right? We're going to keep 6, maybe 7 since Villa's hurt. Since Villa is hurt, that's 8.
Right.
So let's do it real quick. You got Villa, you got Sue, you got Golston, right?
Okay. Bo Allen,
Nacho.
Okay.
Ledbetter.
Okay.
We're at 6.
Right.
Beckner.
Okay.
And now we haven't even talked about Patrick O'Connor. Or who else is left?
Right. But see, I mean, you think we'll really keep that many? Because, like, this is where the changing of the system, I'm not real sure, because didn't we only keep like 8 or 9 defensive linemen last year, and that included defensive ends along with our interior guys? How does that change now with the shift of using these outside linebackers as defensive ends, and we only have 3 guys in the middle?
Well, like I said, it'd probably be 6. So you got your starters and your backups.
Right.
That's sort of the baseline, how you do all the positions.
Right.
But since Vea's hurt, we're going to have to carry 7.
Okay.
At least until he comes back.
Right.
If he comes back and he's ready to go week 1, then you're sort of talking back down to 6. And players like Beckner start to get talked about if you're going to keep him or not. So this guy, again, he's a camp body. He's somebody to play in the second half tomorrow night. or excuse me, Friday night, and he's somebody who's going to play a lot in that last preseason
game. And we have probably already talked more about him than anyone actually needs us to. So let's move on with that. They did, I think I mentioned they did release the Shane Bowman. Again, a guy I honestly can't even tell you I've heard of. So
he just got signed. He got signed right after, a couple days after Stevie T did.
Okay.
That's another guy we didn't talk about.
Sure.
Stevie T making the team.
Yeah.
But yeah, also signed him a couple days. Yeah, and I don't even know if I can't even remember him playing the Miami game. But like you said, he pulled or tweaked or something, or like, okay, well,
right,
you're here to get reps and get beat up on. If you can't do that,
sure, exactly,
we'll bring in somebody who can.
Exactly. All right, well, that's the transactions. I got to be honest. I thought we might even have a few more. Just being in this particular part of the preseason, but that's what we had. Ren, we actually had quite a bit of news pieces that kind of came out, little talking points. We already discussed on our last episode Jason Light's contract extension. I think that might have been one of the biggest pieces that came out, so we won't retread that ground. But there are quite a few little bits and pieces came out of press conferences, what we heard about coming out of practice and various things, because it's not open to the public anymore. And these are going to kind of be a little hodgepodge. These aren't going to be in chronological order throughout the week, right? It's just kind of, I wouldn't even say they're in order of importance. It's just, I think as I was doing research, I just found them and then wrote them down is pretty much how it's going to go. So don't take anything in stride about.
This is how they appeared on my Twitter timeline.
That's it right there. That's exactly how they appeared on my Twitter timeline. So the first thing that I have down here is coming out of one of his press conferences, BA talking about Ryan Griffin, basically saying that his play has been, and the word was noteworthy.
Okay.
Which is kind of what we've been saying.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody,
and a lot of people have been
and
saying.
A lot of other people have been saying, right?
Yeah, it's the same argument that, we've had since the Miami game. And it kind of started after the Pittsburgh game. Ryan Griffin looked great. What a shock. And then in the Dolphins game, hey, Ryan Griffin did well. Big shocker. Ryan Griffin playing great in the preseason.
Big shocker.
What's that? Yeah.
Well, what was that I saw from Stroud the other day? I think they said that Ryan Griffin has had the best preseason of any NFL quarterback. And then the word was again.
Again.
Like, 'cause he's done this before, right? He's Mr. August, as they say, right?
Every year he has the highest QBR.
Right.
Yeah, Mr. August. I like that. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
So that, that's it. And it's sort of just the same story. Is Griffin doing enough to push Gabbert out? Now, if Griffin had sort of a stronger arm, I know that's sort of the knock against him when you kind of like really, let's get down to brass tacks. Like there's things in the offense that Gabbert can just do better because he's just bigger and stronger guy.
Right.
And so as BA, and you add the trust issue to him, BA said something, I think he talked about how, in a press conference recently, how Gabbert's had, 70 offensive coordinators in 8 years, or how many years he's been in the league. If he's been in 5, he's had 4. If he's been in 6, he's had 5. So to me, that's sort of like still raises a little bit of a red flag. If you're a Ryan Griffin guy, is he's making excuses for him. Basically saying, yeah, I know he's looked crappy, but he hasn't got to stay in an offense, and I still trust him.
Honestly, that particular argument, I'm pretty sure, is one that we used about Gerald McCoy. Look at how many defensive line coaches he's had over the course of his career, and you start making excuses.
Yeah, because Brain Gabbert has what? How many All-Pros?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I'm not trying to bring up a sore subject. I'm really not. Okay. All right, here's the other question, though, that I have. You have often said on this show, and I've said, and I think until we get to Sunday, September 9th, it'll be a question. BA came in and said, it's an open competition, but it's not. That backup.
It was even harsher than that.
Right.
Does Ryan Griffin have a chance of being number 2 quarterback? He has a chance. He's not going to be, but he has a chance.
Right.
It was more along those lines.
Right. But with BA even coming out and saying, hey, Ryan Griffin's play is noteworthy, are we to interpret that as saying that he might be changing BA's mind, and he really might step into that number 2 spot, or is this really still the Blaine Gabbert show? Right.
That's the question, and it is the argument, and I don't know. For me,
you mean you can't read BA's mind?
Well,
Ren, why do I have you on this show?
Well, this is the first year with him. Like, I've already started to pick up on when he's lying and when he's telling the truth. Okay. I've already started to pick up on that. This will be one of those things, like with Andre Ellington, sort of when the rubber meets the road. You talk about trust and loyalty to his guys.
Right.
Well, Andre Ellington doesn't deserve to be on this team if you keep 3 running backs. So is he going to keep 4 to eat up a roster spot to keep Ellington, or is he just going to cut him? And it's sort of the same argument with Gabbert. Yeah, he's been in the offense, but he's looked terrible in the offense, and he's gone up a little better competition, but he's also has a little better competition protecting him. So, for me, I would like to Ryan Griffin get the number 2 spot, and we'll just see if all this talk about open competition and best guy gets it outweighs the trust and loyalty factor of BAs. This is going to be a big, for me, it's going to be a big decision on about what I can tell is just bull crap, coaches speak, or what is actually BA's sort of like core personality.
Right. And I think, and to be quite frank, I think the time we'll really find out this, unless BA just comes out and flat out says, no, so-and-so is our number 2, so-and-so is our number 3, or we're cutting somebody. Unless we get that answer, we're going to wait and see, who's inactive for that first game.
Or is even on the team.
Well, that's what I mean. Unless somebody gets cut, right? Or
gotcha.
BA just comes out and says, no, Gabbert's our number 2, or Griffin's our number 2.
We'll just have to wait for the depth chart.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. We'll see where that goes. So, all right, moving on. We already touched on this just a little bit, but Ren, I do want to dive back into it. Our friend Evan Winter over at BucsNation.com wrote an article asking basically the question about Justin Watson. Is it time for him to step up, or does he need to step up? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think even just a few minutes ago, you said you're pretty sure Justin Watson still has that number 4 spot.
He does.
Locked up.
He does. He has it. Now, the reason it's kind of like the Justin Evans thing, where people are like, oh, Justin Evans, he's going to lose his starting spot. Well, if Justin Evans can get on the field, BA is going to cut him. It's like, no. And here it is. It's the talk that everyone had these high hopes of Justin Evans, like taking this 4th spot and running away with it. In practice, he's done fine. In the games, I chronicled it, a couple of drops, and some of them were tough catches, and 2 of them could or should have been touchdowns. So now people are starting to talk about it because one of the reporters asked him, "Does Justin Evans have that 4th spot?" BA didn't say no. What did he say?
I'm sorry, I was responding to somebody in the YouTube chat room who was listening to us live. What did he say, Ren?
He said, "I wouldn't say that."
Okay. That's right. Yeah, he said I wouldn't say that. Right.
Yeah, what that means is I would like to say that, but I can't. He's basically saying the competition's still open.
Right.
I don't want it to be, but it still is. But then again, who stepped up to take it away from him?
That is true. And, I mean, we've seen BA use words like this in the media before to motivate players.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
I was listening to a podcast today. Scotty Miller, who's back now, was seriously thinking not taking the trainer's advice and coming back on the field early after he heard BA said, "I need to see Scotty Miller out on the field."
Oh, really?
In a presser.
Was he?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Listen, apparently it's effective. BA's been around for a while. He knows how to motivate his players. So we what we're saying though ultimately is we still think Watson is pretty well locked in at that number 4. He's probably not getting cut. But he still has some work to do.
He's not where they'd like him to be. You talked about it.
Yeah,
I mean, you had that conversation with him. What's the next step? Everyone said that he's taking all the steps he needs to. Then you said, okay, well, what's the next one? And what do you say?
What did he say? Shoot. It was wait a minute, because we had questions about what those steps were, and then what is that next one? It's catching the long ball, right?
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what are the two catches that everyone's banging on him for? It was an over the shoulder, further. It wasn't really a deep ball, but in the Pittsburgh game, it was a far throw, and I think it was from hash mark to sideline, far hash mark to sideline, and then the deep ball in the Miami game.
Right.
So he's exactly where he needs to be then.
Right.
I mean, they're not praising him because they want him to be better. It's a motivation thing. Justin Watson's not getting cut. He's wide receiver 4.
Yeah.
Like.
And for anyone who might have missed
learn who's saying this and follow what they do and see the results that happen, then make your decision.
You're right. And for anyone who might have missed it, in the last media day that we had for training camp, I did get to catch up with Justin Watson and asked him and talk to him a little bit and say, what's the difference between year 1, year 2, and what's happening. And he told me, that's when he said all the coaches are telling him that he's made all the right next steps.
Right.
He has been advancing. He's doing all the right things, making those right next steps. And I said, okay, well, what is the next right step for you? That's kind of the way that conversation. And we talked about what some of those other things were, but yeah. So for anyone who missed that on a previous episode, that's where that conversation came from.
And one of them was he needs to get better at the deep ball.
Yeah, that was his big next step he needs to work on, is getting better at the deep ball. So he's aware of it. He's doing it. You just mentioned Scotty Miller, another piece of news. Scotty Miller,
Scooty. We are changing Scotty's name to Scooty.
Is that official on the roster card? Huh?
Scoot. The Graves, Scooty Miller. Scooty. Lock it in. Final answer.
Scooty, not Scooter. Scooty.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Scooty Miller returns to the practice field. But Ren, I ask you, is it too little, too late?
No.
Yeah.
I understand there's not a lot to talk about out there sometimes, but no, it's not too little, too late. Would I feel better if he shows up? Now, if he goes out there and falls flat on his face, then it might be too little, too late. Then he'll only have that last game, the preseason game, to sort of show out and go, okay, it was my first game jitters.
Right.
But no, I mean, is his stock as high as it was with the Buccaneers, coming, after OTAs and minicamp and coming into training camp? I think it is.
Okay.
Has it gotten any higher? No.
Right.
Has it gotten any lower? No. It's just stayed where it is. And it's just one of those things where all the fans are excited to see him. BA told him to get back out there, and now he's back out there. Right. But I think they're gonna give him every chance to sort of show what he can do these next 2 weeks. And again, if he doesn't fall on his face, if he just does what I've seen in practice, I think he makes the team.
All right.
Can't teach speed, man.
Can't teach speed. No, I like it. I definitely like it. And, we'll I'm sure have this conversation again later of how many wide receivers are we keeping. You seem pretty convinced, Justin Watson. We got that 4 locked down. So are we going 5, which we had that conversation on a previous episode based off something BA said? Or is
when we have
6?
our 53-man episode, I'll have that answer for you.
There you go.
I might not do too well this year. Usually I get like 51 out of 53, something like that. I think that's what I got the past 2 years.
Yeah.
I might miss because I might put my foot down on some of these guys that I'm going to make them on my roster make the team instead of what's really best for the team or what BA and his coaching staff think. So I might hit 50, 40, 49 this year.
All right. So for all you betting folks out there, take the under for Ren this year. All right. Moving on. Ian Beckles, I don't remember if this was his podcast or on his radio show or something, said that he has been told, I think by Jason Light, that other teams have been calling him asking to trade Caleb Benenoch. Is this just the biggest bunch of load of bull, or what in the world? Who is calling about Caleb Benenoch?
Little story, Brent. I actually DM'd someone last night. So I got it was his podcast. So I got around to finally listening to the Ian Beckles In the Trenches podcast. It's not good podcast.
No,
it's not.
Okay.
So I sent a DM to somebody.
You mean the podcast as a whole is not good, or this one particular episode is not good?
The whole thing.
Okay.
The whole thing. I remember when it first came out, and I listened to it, and it was sort of around this time, training camp, and I listened to it, and I go, he doesn't really follow the team that close. He's saying things that are just flat out wrong. Okay, let it go. I listened to a few more, didn't listen to it. Then I listened to it a little bit during mid-season to see what he had to say. Then I think it went away for a while. Now it came back.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't do any research. Like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Now, I'm not talking about the Jason Light thing. I don't know. We'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been struggling with saying something, and when we were doing sort of a little tiny bit of prep before the show, and you're like, Ian Beckles, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have to say it. His last 2 podcasts have been probably a total of 30 minutes, like both of them combined.
Yeah, that's probably
true. With commercials, they're running like 14 minutes. He said stuff like, haven't seen anything from Kappa yet. Well, that's weird because you've been at practice. You should have seen him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you haven't seen him, in the 12 plays he's been in? I get that. But he said, who's his backup? And he thought his backup's Benenoch. Everyone's known for like 3. Well, I should say everyone, but the people who care about this stuff, which you should be, because by the way, you run the 3 to 6 drive time show in the most popular sports station for 100 miles around. Everyone knows he's moved to tackle. Mm-hmm. He talked about Dario Ngwabale and said, "Yeah, this guy's competing for the 4th running back spot." Like, no, he's not.
He's competing for the 3rd running back spot.
There was like 2 or 3 things he says in there that are just incorrect, and it's lack of caring, it's lack of prep work. It's like he scribbled some ideas right before he jumped in front of the mic, did about 11 minutes, then signed off. And it's like we deserve better as fans. Mm-hmm. You know why there's so many Buccaneer podcasts out there? Because our local radio doesn't cover them well enough.
Yeah.
If
they won't do it for us, we as Bucs fans are going to do it our damn selves. And I'm looking, and just to that point, in our chat room right now, in our YouTube chat room, there are, I want to say 3, maybe 2 at this point. 2 of our friends who host other Buccaneer podcasts that are hanging out with us right now. And they're, yes. Yeah, if they can't get it, we will. And damn it, that's where we are right now.
So, I mean, it angered me so much that, and this is not an outlier. Like this, this happens. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say almost every pod because I can't really prove that. But I feel like every time I listen to it, I'm just like, no, that's incorrect. Like the last pod, he didn't even say anything. Mm-hmm. It was just a bunch of we'll see, I don't know, preseason. Like he'd bring up a problem, like Ronald Jones. I don't know. We'll see. It's the preseason. Right. Alex Kappa. I don't know. Well, like, why are you even doing a pod?
And his off-season stuff, I got to say, has been very sporadic. For one, he's not been, and it's been very short, as you mentioned, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes at most, and that includes his ads that he goes in.
Yeah,
he gets a little bit more depth when the season's happening and there's actual football to talk about. But it does. You're right. His off-season stuff, especially, kind of at times feels like, well, I got to put something out. I got to just get something, even if it's just a little bit. Like,
it feels like it's more of a chore for him because I don't know if I'm sure, like, I don't know Ian. Right. I like him. I like listening to him sometimes. I used to, at least. He's really grating. He's getting on my nerves, and that's just me being a jerk because I feel like we deserve better. It's not like he's a bad person or anything, but it feels like he's just doing these pods because he has to contractually. Like he has to put one out because that's what the people that pay him says he has to do. Mm-hmm. And it's just crap, man. It's just freaking, it's crap. And you are the 3 to 6 afternoon, Monday through Friday drive guy. And you think Caleb Benenoch is the backup right guard.
Well, speaking of Caleb Benenoch, with that though, Ian talks about Caleb potentially being traded, people wanting to trade for Caleb Benenoch.
Oh yeah.
I don't
know.
Seriously?
Like, I don't know. I would love to be able to trust him. He said, I don't think he's lying.
Okay.
And it's just, it's hard to wrap your head around it.
Right.
Like, who would watch Caleb Benenoch's film from last year and say we want him? But maybe they want him as a tackle. Maybe they liked him coming out of college as a tackle. Mm-hmm. All the teams have these updated files on every active player or even a bunch of inactive players. Like, so
get him for a 7th rounder, really super cheap or something like that. And
yeah, maybe they need depth, and they like his, he's got some traits, and they think that he's had the wrong O-line coach.
Right.
Maybe, but I don't know.
And his value is real down in Tampa right now, so they can get him cheap.
No, if it was like a 3rd rounder or maybe even a 4th, I would say do it. But then I would really have a hard time because he's our best tackle coming off the bench right now.
Does that not give you shivers up and down your spine?
Yes.
To say that Caleb Benenoch is our best tackle coming off the bench right now.
Yes,
and you're not lying. You're not wrong.
No.
Despite what and you're probably going to get lambasted for this on social media. How can you say that Caleb Benenoch? Well, it's because he is. Doesn't mean he's good.
He is.
Doesn't mean
name
he's good.
Name the guy who's better.
Exactly. Boozer.
No, I don't care if Boozer. He's been awful.
Right.
Awful.
Right.
Of course, they've been playing him at left tackle, and he just can't do it.
Right.
I think Donovan Smith's feet are bad. Hi-oh.
Right. I would be interested what a right tackle competition between Benenoch and Boozer would look like. Because at the end of the day, Benenoch, say what you want about Benenoch. He still has 16 games starting experience in the NFL.
Yeah.
Right? Or more. I don't know if he has any other day, but he started every game last season.
It's around 20.
Yeah. So, he has in-game experience in the NFL, and that can't be underestimated, especially if you're looking for depth pieces for your line.
Yeah.
Or if somebody's really gotten injured and you need to plug somebody in who can go, like that's definitely something. So,
hey, maybe he turns it around this year.
Maybe he turns around. Well, keeping with the offensive line, Ren, another bit of news that came out, report saying that the offensive line looked at BA and said, hey, how about a little more playing time this coming up game? We need a little more. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, Ren. I'm all for this one. Like, even if the rest of the starters sit out, leave those guys in and let them get some more work in.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. The report just being, they need this time to be with each other, to play with each other. I can attest, and you hear this from tons and tons of people, the offensive line, you need to work together as a unit. You have to have that oomph, I guess, when you're together, and you only get that by being out there. So, if we pull Jameis, we pull all our other starters, leave the O-line out there for at least one more series, I guess, longer. I'm for it.
I'd like to see him play the first half and even start the 3rd quarter.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like one play in the 3rd quarter. Let him go out there, do just a road grading power ISO up the middle, just so they can get their motor running coming out of halftime, see what it's like, and then pull them all out.
There you go. From the chat room, by the way, right now, little quippiness coming out, positing on who might have called about Caleb Benenoch, to circle back to that conversation. One person thinks that it was Dirk Cutter calling for his boy. Or maybe George Warhop, who is the
guard in Atlanta.
Yeah. Or George Warhop, who's in Jacksonville right now. Maybe one of those two guys. That's about the only ones that might make sense. So.
Yep.
All right.
Oh, where are you, Leonard Wester,
right.
my dear?
Right.
Leonard Wester.
What about Cole Garner? What about Cole Garner?
No, don't.
I say that just because I want to hear you do the bit. That's all.
Cole Gardner.
There it is. All right. Back to the news. BA says, speaking of offensive line and who's going to play what, talking about the starters this coming game, says how much work they get is going to depend on how they look. Isn't that pretty much how this works in the preseason?
No, usually 3rd game, at least under Cutter, it was we're going to play a half, come out and play a series in the 3rd.
Right.
On the 3rd game.
Right.
BA's like, if we have 2 10-play drives and score, they're sitting.
Sure.
If we have 5 3-and-outs, they're still going to play. That's kind of the way, I guess, I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you look great for 2 drives, then let's not get them hurt. Let's get them out. But if, you're really struggling, if you had, I would say if every drive ended the way the first one, the ones had against Miami, I would keep him in there till I would. I'd just keep him in there until I had to pull him out in the 3rd.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Dropping down here a little bit. BA talking about our guy Beckner Jr. He was our 6th round draft pick this year.
Seventh.
Yeah. Talking about him in a pretty positive light, saying he's been pretty consistent. He's had some good times. I mentioned when I was there at camp the other day watching him. Now, granted, this was out of a drill. I saw, a handful of plays when he was playing against the Miami guys. He didn't look sharp to me at that particular time, but BA was, kind of singing his praises a little bit. Is this more just, have you noticed Beckner doing pretty good?
Yes and no. It's one of those times where I go into practice, I want to watch this guy. Mm-hmm. But every time I sort of look up and find him, he's on the sidelines. Mm-hmm. And then so I watch the play, and then I look down to the sidelines again, and I look up and he's running back off the field, and I missed him. I've seen some okay things from him, and I've also seen things where it's he would get zero push, and he would lose the rep pretty easily. Mm-hmm. But finally, someone from the beat reporters asked about him, and BA basically said, "Yeah, he's been consistent, but he wants more position flexibility out of him. Mm-hmm. Basically, right now he's just a nose, and they want him to be able to." Play the 3-tech, slide right or slide to the left, and be a more versatile piece. So I would like to see what this kid can do, because he was the number 1 recruit coming out of high school, and then had a couple of knee injuries back to back, but he still had a lot of tackle for losses, at least. When you look at tackle for losses, you're like, hey, that's pretty good. Those are a lot of tackle for losses. Then you find out he missed 6 games. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, well, I would like to see a healthy season with this guy, and he never got it. So, but he's sort of always been sort of this underachiever. Maybe got in the doghouse with the coaches. I don't know. It's just one of these guys that I'm excited to see sort of the Bucs develop and nurture. And it was just nice to, at least BA said, didn't say anything terrible about him. He needs to be more consistent. That didn't come out of his mouth.
Mm-hmm. So just to circle back to a conversation we were having earlier, you had mentioned that as far as interior defensive linemen, when we get to that number of what we would keep, might be looking at about 6 or so for interior defensive linemen. 4 are set, so there's really only 2 spots left. You could even say 5 are probably set at this point. So he's kind of one of those roster bubble players right now. Could go. I think way.
6 are set.
Yeah,
but like I said earlier, I think they're going to have to carry 7 because I don't think Vea is going to be ready for week 1.
Yeah. All right. So we have that. Speaking of being ready for week 1, actually this has nothing to do with week 1. Rojo was back from a knee injury. Hyperextended a knee during the game, or at least we think we hyperextended his knee. That's what it looked like for sure. And he came back in. He's coming back from knee injury. He's back in practice. Yeah, I don't know how he's looked. Taped up.
Heard it was heavily taped up.
Okay.
But showing no signs of limping. But it was just nice to see him out there, because it's just sort of the feeling that would be just a perfect thing. We hashtag it's a Bucs life. Rojo finally starts to show promise, so they stick him back there to return kickoffs, which, a lot of people, including myself, are like, why are you doing that? You're just risking injury. And lo and behold, he, slips on the grass, extends his knee, it catches the grass, and his whole body weight, comes slamming down on a totally locked knee. Mm-hmm. And then he misses practice. Then he misses another practice. But he's back. I'm still a little worried about it.
Yeah.
Because I think he's just out there because he's trying to show that he's, a tough guy.
Kind of needs to be, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like he needs to be, trying to show that I understand that for me to, if basically he wants to show people that if I'm not on a stretcher, I'm playing.
Right.
Which is fine, but I'd be okay if it was week 2. It's not. It's a preseason. So I'm not sure how much he's going to play. I kind of don't want him to play, but then I kind of do want him to play because I want to see him.
Yeah.
I want to see an extended version against a really good defensive line, the ones against Cleveland. But then if he's just doing it and he's not, at least 90%, then I don't want to see him. I don't, because if he gets hurt, it's really going to be a bummer for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I am 100% with you. It's that catch-22. You know, you want him to, but you don't, all at the same time. So, yeah, we'll get there. All right. Well, we're talking about injuries. A bit of good news out of the injury front. Justin Evans, who has been out since November of last year. Reports are that he was in pads, wearing a helmet and everything. Wasn't participating in drills. They had him on a far field running, but he was dressed out for the first time in a really long time. So, I guess that's all we can really say. Like, he's making progress apparently, and we visibly see it.
Yeah, someone asked BA in the presser today about, hey, did Justin practice with the team? And BA said, no, he can't. As in, he's not allowed because they haven't changed his status from, which is, I don't know, the PUP or the IR. Yeah. I don't think it's PUP. He's like in the IRL or the NHL or the Stanley Cup champs, something like that. So, like,
Stanley Cup
So I'm hoping that, soon that we get a press release or practice is over. Maybe he shows up during the game,
Right.
That'd be cool. But I think I'm hoping that if we don't see him in the Cleveland game, that we'll see him back at practice with the team in full pads, come Sunday.
That'd be good. That would
certainly
be good.
That would be good.
I'm not,
and then he won't get cut.
Yay! Yay! Are we going to cut Justin Evans? No, we're not. All right. All right. Bad news on the injury front, though. Mike Evans. Mike Evans is out this week for the Browns game. We generally tackle this a little bit later, but it fits in the conversation right now. Sure. He has a quad strain or a groin strain or something. I saw both out there. I'm not sure which one it is. I don't know how serious this is. If this is, a serious concern or if it's just them being a little precaution, showing some precaution.
I do not either.
Yeah. No idea.
Yeah. No
I
idea.
I believe I saw.
Hoping for the best.
Yeah. I believe I saw Mike Evans actually tweeted, kind of gave one of those, hey, to everybody who sent me happy birthday wishes and whatever and get well stuff. Thanks. Cause I guess
really,
today
that really shines some light on the mystery Brent.
No, it doesn't, but he just,
his fingers aren't broken. Is that
right. Well, a lot of people have been tweeting him about it, I guess. And, he's like, hey, thanks.
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw a player tweet back to people like, hey, thanks for the well wishes? I've never seen that before.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that it not that it matters.
It was his birthday today, right?
I do. Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was his, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe it was more about that. Who knows? I'm not going to worry about it until he's not practicing sort of midweek next week.
Okay.
Then I'll start to worry about it. If he's not back Sunday, I'll be fine. If he's not back Monday, I'll be fine. If he's not back Tuesday, that's when I'm going to need some answers from our guys there in the media room to, find a creative way to make BA say how long. Right. Because he doesn't have to comment on it, and no injury report comes out till week 1. So I want to know before then.
Right. Yeah. So that'll be, I like that. I think that's probably a good way to be. Don't worry about it until next week. Don't because people will. People. Oh my goodness! Oh, are we going to cut him? All right. Let's hear. Were
you there with me when he got cramps and they had to put him on the cart?
Yeah.
Were you there?
Yeah.
You remember how freaked out you got?
I wouldn't say freaked out. I was just. I think I sent out a picture and a tweet about it. And then people, and I said something of he had abdominal cramps, and people were like, "Oh, those are full body cramps." And I was like, "Whatever, dude had cramps. He was, flipping over backwards, but it was cramps. It wasn't, and that's what I was trying to say. This is just cramps. It's not an injury. It was just cramping up.
Didn't tweak his hammy.
Yeah, it wasn't that. It was. Just
you waited a couple of weeks later for that,
right? All right. Final bit of news for the Buccaneers. Then we have something else fun to talk about. In the kicking competition, this kicking competition this isn't the most publicized. This feels like the most true kicking competition we've had for a long time, especially given all the kicking stuff. But BA says that the first long kick in this game this week is going to go to Cairo, not Matt Gay. So
as it should.
So my question, Ren, like, what is this really still a kicking competition alive and well? Because after Matt Gay kicked the game winner last week, lots of people, crowned him.
This kicking competition has been over since Matt Gay put it over the net from 65 and hit the top half of the building.
Right. Wasn't that like the second day of training camp or something like that? Like it was real early.
It's been over since then.
Okay, so giving this to Cairo.
Because one, if he makes it, then possibly he's a commodity. You might be able to find a desperate kicking team to pick up a 6th or a 7th rounder. Mm-hmm. They're showing him off. That's why they're still saying it's a competition. Mm-hmm. That's why they say things like, "Oh, Cairo's going to kick in this league this year."
Right?
Like, yeah, no doubt about it. It's because they're pumping him up because they know they're going to move him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't hear him say like, "Oh, Matt Gay's going to kick in this league somewhere this year."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we know it's going to be for the Bucks.
Right.
So that's what they're doing, and it's smart. We'll see if it works. I hope it does.
Right. So my question then becomes, like, I get they're trying to up his trade value, but if you're another team and you're looking at the situation, you can go, they're going to cut this guy. Why would I give up any capital except for maybe to secure the fact that I'm the guy to get him? But, we see teams do this all the time. No, but we see teams do this all the time. Like, yeah, I'm not going to give you anything. I'm just going to wait till you cut him. And then I'll come try to get him. Like,
well, then why didn't the Vikings just do that?
What did the Vikings do?
They traded for a kicker last week.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. Or might have been 2 weeks ago by now. Yeah.
Was it?
Somebody did. I think it was the Vikings. Somebody traded for a kicker. Oh, okay. And that's sort of where this conversation started, was like, for keeping Gay. Well, sorry, I shouldn't do that. I don't like it when people like make fun of fans and make stupid noises. So that's when it sort of started on Twitter about, well, what about Santos? What can we get for him? Mm-hmm. And it's been a slow bubble and a slow murmur, but it's make no mistake about it. That's why they're talking Santos up.
Right. So what could we get for Santos? What do you think? Obviously, it's going to be a needy team. They know that we're going to cut him, so they're getting him just to ensure nobody else gets him. What do you think?
You need a field goal kicker, man.
Is that a 5th round, 6th round, 7th round pick?
I would take anything.
Yeah.
Like, I would take like a Coke machine.
If anyone offers you anything, you say yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I've got 2 tackling dummies and a case of footballs. Sold.
You got it. All right, fair enough. All right, Ren. Well, this is typically the point in our show where we would start looking at the injury report and talking about the Browns game coming up. To be honest, it's the Browns. I haven't really scouted them. I don't care. It's a preseason game. I'm more worried about us at this point. But also, there really is no injury report. We do have a list of people who didn't practice today, and we can maybe talk about that. But before we get there, one bit of major news that hit that has nothing really to do with the Bucs outside of it's going to happen at Raymond James Stadium. The XFL, there you go. The XFL announced the name of the team coming to Tampa, the new football team coming here, and it is going to be the Tampa Apollos. Bringing back our show. No, it's the
Spurs
Vipers.
Coaching.
Yeah, there you go. Steve Spurrier. There you go. The Vipers, the Tampa Bay Vipers, with a very green and yellow color scheme, reminiscent of the USF color scheme, which gets transformed.
Sure.
Couldn't be red, so that's fine. Whatever. What do you think? What do you think of the team name? What do you think of the logo? Lots of opinions I see flying around out there on Twitter about this.
I like the logo. I do. Mm-hmm. I mean, now on the official Twitter page of the Vipers, they put it on a green background, which makes it look terrible. Honestly, it doesn't look nearly as cool on a black, but I think that's going to be the color of the helmet.
Okay.
So
is
that's
the green or the black? You think
the green?
The green's going to be helmet? Yeah.
They're going to be the helmet, but it's cool. I mean, it's sort of shaped like an arrow, which when you see an arrowhead, it's like quick striking movement. Mm-hmm. I get it. It looks like a V, of course, but then the inside, with the yellow on the inside of the V, they look like a pair of fangs.
See, you say fangs. I thought it looked like an eye, Like a snake eye.
On the black it does.
Oh, okay.
When you see it on the green, the eye goes away.
And it just looks like fangs?
And you just see the yellow fangs.
Okay, yeah, because I saw the eye. Like, that's what it looked like to me. Yeah,
I thought it was really cool, too. I'm like, oh, cool, it's looking like an eye. And then they slap it on the green background. It's like, oh, no, it's a pair of fangs. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if I like that better or not. Because I kind of like the eye. Yeah, do you?
I want the eye and the fangs.
Okay.
I want them both.
Oh, you want them both. Want it to be both. Okay. Yeah. Maybe it is both. Change out the background and the eye comes back, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, we've actually, a couple of people started tweeting us. I think the first person was our friend Corey Draper from the Play Reaction, had said, the real question about all of this is, what are Brent and Ren going to name their show about the Vipers? So, Ren, we have a little announcement we'd like to make.
No, we don't.
No, we don't. We actually, I think we haven't discussed this, at least since the Apollos were actually still a team, if we were going to do an XFL show. We don't know, folks. We'll figure it out when it gets there.
You're driving to Plant City.
No.
Somebody asked me that. Like, they're going to be a Ren's training camp journals for the Vipers. I'm like, Plant City's like 2 hours away.
Yeah.
Or is it? It's like Lakeland or Plant City. I mean, it's on the other side of Tampa.
Is that where they're doing it? Wow.
Yeah, it's a ways. So I'm like,
yeah, right. No, maybe not. Maybe not.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
but I thought the USFL was fun football to watch. I thought the AAF was fun to watch, and I think the XFL, as long as they don't try to be stupid like they did last time and put we're gonna have cameras in the cheerleaders' dressing rooms and have Vince McMahon strut out to midfield and act like it's the ring at a WWE event. I think it'll be fine, and it's just fun football. Football year round is always a good thing, Brent.
Yeah. Hey, one question. Our friend Alan's bringing this up in the chat room, and I'm gonna ask you why, as if you've been like in the meeting room to find out why exactly. But why the Vipers? Like, this doesn't have much to do with Florida or Tampa.
People keep saying that. I disagree.
Well, okay, talk about it.
Well, okay, what's a viper?
Poisonous snake.
There you go. How many are in Florida?
But are all poisonous snakes vipers, though?
I think. Well, you have to have a hinged jaw too.
Do you? Yeah, I don't know. I am not a what's a snake expert? A herpetologist. I am not that. I don't know.
I'm going to be that next time somebody asks me.
You're instead of a cartographer, I'm a herpetologist.
I'm a herpetologist.
I raise snakes.
That? I'm not sure. I think it's a study of snakes.
I mean, okay, fine. So we have a lot of snakes, but like, when you say vipers and you throw green up there, that does not elicit a Florida, anything having to do with the idea of Florida.
I disagree, but I mean, okay, then where are vipers from? Like, what's more of a viper place in the whole entire world? Like, you don't have to stick to the United States.
Yeah. I think when I think of like Mideast, and I think of the desert. I think that's what I think of. I don't think
cobras and things.
Yeah.
I bet there's more vipers in Florida than there are in the Middle East.
It's probably true. Anyway, this conversation is starting to bore me.
I get it, but yeah. I like the logo.
Uh-huh.
I don't mind the name. It's not my favorite either, honestly. I hate the color scheme.
The yellow and green and
I hate
all that. Yeah. Okay. Do you think they did that because USF's color scheme is that, and like they can kind of?
No. I'm sure they had they don't think about that stuff, Brent.
Yeah.
Come on now.
I'm
sure they have a reason. I'm sure they have the reason. Green, reptiles, snakes, Florida, lots of green.
Well, sure.
I mean, I don't know. Yellow, I don't know. But it's like my fifth favorite logo name. Like sort of like the logo.
Yeah, I saw you do your rankings.
Yeah. I think the Guardians are cool. I thought that was pretty dope.
You know what I think is funny is the Guardians have a logo of like a cat kind of doing a thing. It looks like a cat.
It's a gargoyle.
Is it a gargoyle? It looks like a cat to me. Okay, it's a gargoyle. Okay. Never mind. Then this it makes no sense what I'm getting ready to say. Anyway, all right. So moving on. Anyway, that's the Vipers. We'll if we do anything regarding the Vipers next off season, we'll talk about it then.
I think it's really going to depend on what kind of players they get.
It is. I think, and it's also going to depend on what this league is and what they're going to be doing with it. You know?
Yeah, we sort of jumped in with both feet on the Apollos.
Yeah, well, they gave us full media credentials.
Halfway through the season, we're like, oh no, do we have to do another pod?
We really were. Yeah,
and we didn't want to do it anymore.
It was our lowest. It was like we'd put out a Bucks pod, and the numbers would blow through the roof, and like the Showtime with the Apollos show, was like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, thank you to everybody who listened to the Showtime with the Apollos show, and you enjoyed it. We appreciate that.
Both of you.
Yes, it was. It was more of a what's the word?
We thought it'd be a great idea. It's like, oh, we'll have something to talk through the off season.
Yeah,
and then it became like a job, and it was like, oh,
that's what I mean. Yeah, it became more labor intensive than it
turned
was
into Ian Beckles, Brent.
Oh yeah, except he made more money at his. All right. Let's get out of here, Ren. Our final thing. Okay. Injury report for those listening later on the audio side. I'm doing air quotes. For those of you watching the video right now, joining us on YouTube, you see me doing air quotes. Injury report. Greg Allman reported today. I'm pulling this from him. People who did not practice, held out of practice today. Mike Evans, we talked about him.
Will not play.
Cameron Brate.
Will not play.
Levante David.
Will not play.
Do we have any update on what's going on with him and his injury? He had a surgery, right? Like a little meniscus tear?
He had a meniscus tear. Yeah, he'll be back by week 1.
Okay. Vita Vea.
Will not play.
Any update on his injury situation?
He's still in a leg brace.
Okay. Outside linebacker Nelson. I don't know if this is our draft pick or the other guy named Nelson.
Will play.
Will play. All right. Devontae Bond. No.
Oh, wait. No, it is our outside linebacker. Will not play.
Okay. Devontae Bond.
I want him to play.
Yeah. By the way, Devontae Bond having a really good preseason and has, like, I've not looked favorably upon Devontae Bond these last couple of years. He has changed my mind. Fully changed my mind this year. Anyway.
Why, Brent? What happened?
Why? Because he's making plays.
Why?
And he's not letting punts go returned or stupid stuff happen.
Runners go free on the punt protection.
So to date, Devontae Bond has been a bubble player. Didn't he spend like a couple years going up and down the practice squad to the active roster, or maybe 1 year doing that? Do what?
Maybe one.
Yeah,
maybe one.
Kind of went up and down, and then he's always been in that like 4th, 5th, 6th group. Right. He's been a backup. He's just been whatever. And I've never liked him. I just haven't, I've never thought too much of him, mostly because of that. But this year I'm like, okay, I could see him doing some stuff.
It's because they moved him to his natural position.
Well, we got to
remember. I've been saying for like 4 years, like this guy's an outside edge rusher. He had more sacks in JUCO than games played.
Right.
That's what he played in Nebraska. But they put him in at middle linebacker. And I mean, I know you've heard me say that.
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah. Yeah, but now we actually have a system that can utilize him like that too. And again, I go back to Jason Light's been drafting for this system. Not whatever that crap is Mike Smith gave us for a bunch of years. All right. Anyway, Cousin Daniels did not practice today.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with him.
Didn't he get injured in the last game?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Can he poke him in his eye?
I don't know. Well, do you think he'll make the team?
No. I don't.
I don't either. And then
practice squad.
Possibly. And then Greg Allman notes that Nassib was sporting a new bucket hat today. Brand new bucket hat. I assume that means that Nassib also was not practicing as well.
Veteran Day.
Just a veteran day. You think he'll play?
That's what I'm guessing.
All right. Well, now comes the point where we predict our inactives for the week, Ren. Oh, wait. Darn. All right.
Everybody.
There you go. Everybody's inactive. All right, Ren. So we're looking here at the Browns game. Real quick, what are the top like 2 or 3 things you're looking for out of this Browns game this week?
Scotty Miller.
Okay.
Offensive line. You go. What are you looking for?
Me? I want to see more of the defense. Kind of, I want to see more of what they have. I'm still looking at
more
that.
than one series.
Yes. I would like to see more Jameis Winston, and hopefully we'll get that. I want to see him with everybody. But you mentioned earlier Rojo. I'd like to see some more Rojo. But along with that, I'd actually like to see Peyton Barber. Like we've been talking about, Rojo's been the big name this year. And, Peyton Barber's kind of been it's Peyton Barber. And then, man, Rojo's really coming on. Like, I want to see Peyton Barber and see how he's really, I want to see him as that number one back doing what number one back things do.
I think my last one, I'm not worried about any of those guys, but, you want to see him, you want to see him. My last one is one I talked about last pod, is DeGraves.
Okay.
I'm not sure if OBJ is playing. I mean, he looks fine in practice. He's doing all these circus catches and stuff and one-handing everything. But I want to see Mayfield, OBJ, Jarvis Landry, and Njoku and others go up against DeGraves for a half or more. But I'll take a half. I want to make sure what I've been seeing in training camp is transferring it to a good wide receiving staff, because they're a little shaky against Pittsburgh. Washington sort of got open whenever he wanted to and has been blamed on busted coverage and this and that. And the Dolphins receivers stink. I think that Trent Williams guy, who they're high on, dropped like 3 passes that game.
Right.
And now these are top-notch wide receivers. These guys are not going to drop the ball. They know how to get open. Like, they're smart. They're veterans. So I want to see DeGraves against those guys for 2 quarters and see how they match up, because I've been singing their praises all training camp. And, before week 1, I would like to see sort of where they stack up.
I want to see where that is. I get it. I like it. All right, Ren. Well, that is going to bring us to the end of our first Buck in the News show for the 2019 season, our first official one. Can't wait to really dig into the rest of this. As far as the instant cast goes for this week, it will not be a call-in show. And
what's going on?
It won't. You remember last week when I was traveling?
Nope.
No, you don't remember that? Well, last week I was traveling, Ren, and we tried to make it happen, and it just couldn't. Well, it turns out I'm traveling again this weekend, and hopefully this is my last weekend traveling on a game weekend. So, a little bit of family business. So we'll see what that looks like, if it'll be you and me, and we'll just put out the pod, or if we'll do something else. We'll see what that looks like as far as the instant cast goes. But we will definitely be back next week, as we get into our regular rhythm and our regular schedule for what we're getting into here with the regular season. So, Ren, until then, why don't you tell the folks out there where they can find you on the internet?
Best place to find me is on Twitter at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football.
And if you guys
I don't like that. I got to get a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't like it either.
I like the phrase. I'm not sure how I like how you
don't like you don't like where I've taken it?
Yeah.
I'm like, what's his name? Forrest Whitaker in the new Star Wars movie.
What?
How he made a choice. Forrest Whitaker, how he played like that old robot dude in the Star Wars movie. He was like, I was like, whoa, you made the Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Forrest Whitaker. You know who Forrest Whitaker is?
Yeah.
And he played sort of like Ren's guardian,
Yeah.
No,
I know what you're talking about. I just, it's been a while since I've seen that. You're talking about the one that takes place like right before A New Hope comes out, the Rebel one.
The one where the last one that came out, the one with the girl that slammed into the other guy. I don't even know the characters anymore.
Sure.
The one where Luke died.
Oh, that one. Forrest Whitaker was in that one?
Yeah, he played like Ren's guardian. He's the one who found her like down in the hole, and then like it fast forwarded to when he was older and he had to use like an oxygen mask.
I think you might be confusing a couple of your Star Wars movies. We'll talk about that offline.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. I'm telling you.
Okay.
It was the one.
Okay.
Am I confusing? Oh,
yeah.
You're right. It was Rogue One.
That's the one.
Right.
That's the one I'm talking about. It takes place right before, and then
Okay.
Yeah.
You are right. I'm sorry. So Forrest Whitaker in Rogue One. Yeah, nice. All right.
James Jarko would be proud of me right now.
Sure. Yeah, like that was a choice. Like
Right.
when he came out, and I was like, oh, I was like, whoa.
That was an acting choice he made? Okay.
Yeah, and I wasn't happy with it. So
Right.
you're not happy with my Buccaneers football.
See, you just did it again.
And I'm not either.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with it.
Make a different
you can
choice,
find
Ren.
me at Twitter, at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football.
And if you want to get in touch with me, you can find me at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias. And the show is on Twitter at The Pewtercast and at Facebook.com/The Pewtercast. You can also email in the show to thepewtercast@gmail.com. You do that, we will read your emails on a future episode of The Pewtercast. Leave us a review over on iTunes. It's not iTunes anymore, Ren. It's Apple Podcasts. Of course, they had to make the name longer.
Sure it is.
iTunes is going away. And I'd like to say hello and thank you to everybody who joined us live. This was kind of very impromptu to put up there. I don't know if we'll do this again for the Buck in the News show, but who knows? Maybe we'll, maybe we won't. But it was fun. It was fun to get to interact with you guys there as well and to keep me distracted from some parts of this conversation. That wasn't so good. But anyway, with that, Ren, until next time, we got the game to play. So we end the show as always. Go Buccaneers.
There you go. Nice. Thanks for falling on the fire for that one.
There you go.
Are we still